We were stretched thin. Groceries, bills, everything kept going up, but our income stayed the same. It felt like no matter what we did or how hard we worked, we could not get ahead. But then something changed, and it wasn't a business, it wasn't an income raise, it wasn't a side hustle. It was something way more unexpected. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 unexpected ways that I became rich living on a low single income. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Camille Leach, and I help Christian moms break free from the cycle of yelling and trade it for calm and peaceful words that speak life over your kids when they mess up. If that is something your heart needs, I invite you to check out my free workshop in the link below. Please like and subscribe. True richness starts when you realize that you're not the only one holding it all together. We hit a moment where we didn't even have money for diapers. I was literally putting on the last diaper, praying for a miracle, and an hour later, a friend called and she said, I have an extra box of diapers I am not using. Would you like to use it? Another time, after my husband was laid off while I was pregnant and we lost all our health insurance, amazingly, 5 days later, we end up with $4,000 in our Venmo account. And it came from a friend who lived across the country who had no idea what was going on. But it was just enough money to get us through the month until my husband could find another job. That's when I realized that richness doesn't come from an income. It comes from knowing that there is a God who sees you, loves you, and cares for you when you can't. This was the first unexpected way I became rich, and that changed how I saw everything. I used to cringe at the idea of becoming frugal. It felt limiting, exhausting, until I had no choice but to choose to be frugal. And strangely enough, it's what made me feel rich. But when I had no choice but to budget every penny on a low single income, I had to become so intentional and mindful with every resource we had. And something surprising happened. It brought us more money and more peace. I learned to meal plan. I learned to reuse leftovers. I learned to thrift shop, repair instead of replace, and track our spending daily and think long term about every dollar we spent. The unexpected richness, I no longer felt guilty or stressed every time I spent money. I felt in control. The freedom made me feel wealthy in a way I never expected before. This was the second way I became rich in an unexpected way. Gaining peace, power, and confidence by becoming deeply intentional with every resource. And from this control, something even more surprisingly grew. Have you ever opened the fridge and seen absolutely nothing that you can cook dinner with and realize we are not having dinner here tonight? And so you call your husband up and say, hey honey, we are doing takeout tonight. That used to be me at least once a week. Then our food budget shrunk to $125 for a family of 5. We literally couldn't afford to do takeout anymore. So I had to learn to cook from scratch using plant-based whole foods, because we were vegan. No more packaged foods, no more frozen entrees, no more pre-made food. It was overwhelming at first, but over time I found rhythm. We got healthier. Meal times got more organized and less chaotic. And the best part, I spent less time cooking and more time spending with my kids. This is the third way I became rich unexpectedly, living on a low single income. Gaining health, structure, and precious time with my children from learning how to cook from scratch. But this wasn't the only area getting rich unexpectedly surprised me. I used to chase health with supplements and doctor's appointments. But what if health starts at home? When I couldn't afford doctor appointments, chiropractic appointments, or health supplements, I turned to the basics: drinking water, spending time in fresh air, exercising, and getting to bed earlier. Not having money for supplements pushed me to develop healthy habits that lasted week after week. And you know what? I started to feel better. Our family got less sick. We had more energy, and I realized this kind of health is freeing and it's powerful. This was the fourth unexpected way I became rich, living on a low single income, building lasting wellness through free, life-giving daily choices. That unexpected simplicity started creating something even more valuable. Isn't it wild when life delivers just what you need, but not in the way that you imagined? Money being tight brought frustration to me. I had a lot of anger over our financial situation. I was yelling more than I want to admit. But one day, after another meltdown over finances and messes, I looked in the mirror and said, "This isn't who I want to be." And I started learning how to regulate my emotions. And this unexpectedly helped me go from yelling at my kids less and instead use more calm, patient words with my kids. Instead of using negativity and shame to correct my kids, I started using words that brought life and was encouraging, and using the Bible verses to transform their heart. If this resonates with your heart, check out my free workshop below. This was the fifth unexpected way I became rich, living on a low single income. Finding emotional health that transformed my parenting and my home. This was the fifth unexpected way I became rich, living on a low single income. Finding emotional healing that transformed my parenting and my home. And little by little, our home began to feel different. Have you ever planned the perfect family trip or party, but still felt disconnected? When we stopped spending money on the big things, we started spending more time being present in the small things, like walks, family worship, game time, and dinners at home. For a family vacation, we even went camping at a lake and tents. We left electronics in the car and slept under the stars. We cooked and played together and made memories that will last a lifetime. And for my husband's birthday, we went on a family bike ride and on a trail. And then we played in the lake instead of having this fancy dinner and party for him. I realized that connection doesn't cost money. It costs attention. And in giving more of that, we became rich in the things that matter most, relationships. This was the sixth unexpected way I became rich. Rediscovering joy in simple, meaningful relationships and connection. And as our connections deepened, something else changed even more. When we stopped spending money on the big things, we started spending more time being present in the small things, like walks, family worship, game time, and dinners at home. For a family vacation, we even went camping at a lake and tents. We left electronics in the car and slept under the stars. We cooked and played together and made memories that will last a lifetime. And for my husband's birthday, we went on a family bike ride and on a trail. And then we played in the lake instead of having this fancy dinner and party for him. I realized that connection doesn't cost money. It costs attention. And in giving more of that, we became rich in the things that matter most, relationships. This was the sixth unexpected way I became rich. Rediscovering joy in simple, meaningful relationships and connection. And as our connections deepened, something else changed even more. Have you ever looked around at your messy house and just thought, I just can't keep up? This was me. And so I started asking other mothers, more experienced mothers, how do you keep a clean house? A majority of them all said, I use a house cleaner. But this wasn't an option for us. So I created my own systems. It was slow at first, but I learned discipline. I learned time management. I showed up every day. I got my kids involved, and I learned how to have routines that actually stick and don't break down in 3 days. Learning how to keep my house clean all by myself brought me something I didn't expect: purpose, joy, and confidence. This was the seventh unexpected way I became rich: discovering joy, identity, and rhythm through homemaking. And cleaning houses started shaping my kids in a way I never imagined. I don't want just happy kids, I want resilient kids. But where do you start with that? As I got more organized and calmer and regulated my emotions, I invited my kids into the daily routines. They started doing chores, helping with meals, and cleaning around the house. At first, there was whining, and then there was growth. I saw them learn perseverance, problem solving, and how to do hard things even when they didn't want to, and do it with a cheerful heart. This is the eighth way I became rich unexpectedly: watching my kids grow strong, capable, full of character. But God wasn't done teaching me what true richness looks like. You want to give your kids the best, the toys that all their friends have, the trending room style on Instagram, the experiences. But money's tight, and deep down, you worry. Will they feel left out? Will they miss out on something important? But deep down, these are questions I had. But in my devotion time, God took me to John the Baptist, Moses, and Jesus. They didn't grow up in ideal situations, but yet they changed the world. The lie was finally broken in my heart that stuff does not equal happiness in my kids. And in that surrender, I found deeper joy. Contentment became one of the richest things I had ever experienced. And this was the ninth unexpected way I became rich: through letting go of comparing and materialism. No amount of money compares to feeling contentment, peace, and purpose, and being able to regulate your emotions. My husband didn't get a raise. We didn't win the lottery. We didn't start a new business. But I became rich, richer in time, in peace, richer in being able to control my emotions, in values, in family, in purpose, and in faith. Oh, how I wish I would have surrendered sooner to God's still small voice in my heart, to let go of what I thought would make me rich, receive the richness He was longing to give me. Mama, it is never too late. When you're walking through a hardship, don't be afraid to say, "Yes, Lord, I am ready to learn. I am ready to grow." Whatever you're going through, know this: God will bring good and richness out of it, just like He did for Joseph in Genesis 50, verse 20. If this spoke to your heart, I invite you to watch my free workshop linked below. From yelling to life-giving words, how to break free from shame-based reactions and speak calm, patient Bible truth over your children, even in their messiest of moments. Please leave a comment sharing what touched you the most. I would love to hear, and I read every single comment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with another mama to know that she is not alone. And remember, you can live rich even on a low income, and it starts right where you are.